Well, might as well review it.
Hello, Everypony, and welcome back to My Little Pony What Works. Once again, it's time to tackle something controversial. No, not that. Definitely not that. Hey, I said I wasn't going to talk about that series anymore. There we go, Equestria Girls. The movie that has the general fandom loving it and the critics finding fault with it. So where do I stand on the Equestria Girls good or bad movie thing? Well, if I were to put this movie on any of my lists, it would end up between Spike Eater Service and Mysterious Mare-de-Well. Yeah, I hated this movie. Originally it was between Dragon Quest and Apple Family Reunion, but the more I thought about it, the higher and higher it rose. Let's hope it doesn't surpass Mare-de-Well or Bridal Gossip in terms of pain level.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad, is it?
What the hell? Pass analysis? Where are you?
Isn't it obvious? I'm kind of stuck in the rift thingy.
Hang on, I'll come get you. That better?
Yep, that's better.
Anyways, what are you doing here?
Well, I thought I was gonna watch this video, but the rift had other plans.
Yeah, that Rift has been acting weirder lately.
I blame A&Y.
Well, to avoid the Rift tangent, I was continuing to say that Equestria Girls was one of the worst movies I've seen this summer, and...
Yeah, you're being overly harsh with this movie, as are a lot of other people. I, on the other hand, thought it was a solid, good one.
Yeah, right, this movie was as solid as the shield around Canterlot. And I actually love that episode.
As did I, though I think you're wrong about this movie.
I take it you're both speaking for the whole fandom who got their derpy panties in a twist over the initial designs?
Wait, who said that?
Hi. Kinda let myself in. I brought the pizza you guys wanted. You know, cheese with getting hyped up from mild disappointment with the side of that actually wasn't too terrible.
Oh, hi, Toon Critic. Didn't realize the Rift stretched that far.
I know, right? I didn't know it picked up total nobodies. Well, not you, Past. You're cool.
Anyways, what are you doing here?
Well, since I'm way too lazy to actually make my own Equestria Girls review, even though I'm pretty sure I said I would in the past, I figured I'd join you two and bring what I got to the table as a neutral party. See, it takes a lot to make me hate a movie, and even though I agree with both sides, you learn to take train wrecks like Equestria Girls and just, I can't believe I'm saying this, love and tolerate it.
That is actually a really good idea. I mean, we have three sides to viewing the movie, and it'll actually give a good balanced perspective for the viewing audience.
Sounds like a good idea. I'm up for that. So, where do we start?
Well, where else does one start with a review? The plot, or in this case, loose plot.
Well, okay then. I'm the voice of reason,
I'm past analysis.
And I'm Toon Critic Y2K.
and this is Equestria Girls, a balanced perspective.
What is this, like a breakfast advertisement?
Okay, here's the setup for the movie. After Twilight's coronation, she and the rest of the main six arrive at the Crystal Empire, for some reason, to meet up with Cadance. During the night, Celestia's former student, Sunset Shimmer, steals Twilight's crown and then sends it to an alternate dimension where everyone is human, and okay, whose fanfic is this? Come on, come forward. Who wrote this broken synopsis that only fanfic writers could come up with?
Well, since we do it all the time, maybe they got inspired and wanted to try their hand at it? But seriously, who wrote this?
Megan McCarthy. My favorite writer of the series wrote this mess. Well, maybe she had good ideas for this one. I mean, I'd love to know the attempt she was going for.
What was really cool for us that Megan did was this idea of Wizard of Oz in reverse.
There is a bit of a Wizard of Oz element.
The Wizard of Oz? Really? Okay, I could kind of see elements here and there, like going to an alternate world with your friends you recognize through their actions and not their appearance. But comparing this plot hole-filled movie to The Wizard of Oz, one of the greatest family movies of all time, is like comparing Paul Blart Mall Cop to Die Hard.
You're seriously comparing those two? I'm almost insulted.
If you don't mind me saying, the story synopsis, while not that good, wasn't that bad either. Just probably not her best work, that's all. She did put in a lot of nice concepts here. For example, she at one point in the movie justifies the high school setting. When Human Fluttershy says, here everyone just sticks to their own crowd. Isn't that a perfect justification for the high school setting, as it stands against everything that Friendship is Magic supports?
Actually, it is. High school versus friendship is magic. Wait, friendship doesn't exist in high school. Everyone knows that.
Speaking of high school, a lot of the story's problems fall around the fact that the setting of the movie was in high school. Anything that would have made sense in Equestria because of a fantasy element would not work in the real world. For example, when Twilight is basically running for homecoming queen, as a non-student by the way, Sunset Shimmer gets Snips and Snails to capture footage of her acting stupidly.
Ah, Snips and Snails, the tools of the MLP verse. Whether it's Trixie or Scootaloo, they're usually the hench ponies of the show. Which is kinda sad. Do these two look remotely like threats?
Calm down, get to that eventually.
About Twilight becoming the homecoming queen as a non-student. Yeah, that doesn't make that much sense, but allow me to explain this. The school just might not be on top of that. I mean, she was there for only 3 days. There are plenty of principals who aren't on top of those things. It makes Celestia a bad principal, but I don't mind. I'd rather her be a princess anyway.
Sunset then edits the footage and puts it on the internet as a form of negative campaigning. My question is, why hasn't Celestia suspended her? The negative campaign slander is a visible form of bullying, and all campaigns in a school setting must be positive. Clearly, though, they haven't checked Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, MySpace, and YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the show had an episode devoted to bullying and what to do if one is bullied. Oh, wait! You see what you're doing, movie? You're making me defend one bad apple! Sunset Shimmer, I can safely say, is the most underdeveloped villain of the entire series.
And when you make Sombra look better than you, you're in trouble.
According to Celestia, she was a former student of hers and chose a different path. And that's it. We don't have anything looking into her jealousy of Twilight, no regret for anything she's done in the human world, no second guessing about leaving Equestria, nothing. We got nothing regarding Sunset Shimmer's character in the movie.
But isn't that somewhat nice? Instead of having the writers take a crack at this brand new character and potentially ruin what she is, they give us, the fans, enough room to theorize about who she is and why she left. As a result, her character has hardly suffered any injuries from this movie.
But actually, we do get Sunset's backstory. In the comics. Yes, announced at San Diego Comic-Con this year, the annual issue will feature a prequel story to Equestria Girls featuring the fall of Sunset Shimmer and the freshman year of the remaining 5. This isn't what the comics were meant to do. The comics were to expand upon stories and ideas that couldn't be explored in the actual show, like what happened to Queen Chrysalis after a Candlelight Wedding. Not have necessary plot points be explained in order to understand the story better. But it may be okay. I mean, as long as it's priced reasonably, it actually could be a fun read. $8 for an annual issue? Oh, great marketing strategy. Release a comic that has necessary plot elements in order to understand the story better, and you market your comic $3 higher than Marvel and DC's annuals. Good luck trying to get me to buy it.
You're going to
You're
buy
gonna buy
it
it
anyway,
aren't
aren't you?
you?
Well, I kind of have to.
I didn't have very high hopes for Sunset Shimmer, and ultimately, she's my biggest gripe with this movie. Spoilers here. Her ultimate grand plan is to hypnotize human teenagers and make them into her own personal army. Right, because the last time someone had an army and tried to invade Equestria, that worked so well. She gets defeated so easily, not even in a creative fashion. Some call it a tribute to the first episode, I call it rehashing. And as far as villains go for G4, she's probably one of the most, I'd say, poorly executed. Right down at the bottom with Sombra, that one teen dragon, and the Diamond Dogs.
That's interesting. The Sunset Shimmer is probably the one thing about this movie that I love the most. As I said, her character hasn't been injured that much by this movie. She did want to take over Equestria with teenagers, and that seems pretty stupid on a villain standpoint, but let us remember that Twilight is made into a teenager when she enters. In Equestria, she appears to be the age of most ponies, so the teenager army wouldn't be utterly bad. Plus, Celestia and Luna were being hypnotized as well, so they would be a pretty sizable threat in Equestria. But besides her plan, there's still so much more to Sunset Shimmer's character. I mean, she's a former student of Princess Celestia, and eventually, for some poorly explained reason, becomes your typical high school bitch. Now, some of you might be thinking, but the movie did give us a good reason. My response would be, no, it did not. All we got was Celestia saying, when she didn't get what she wanted as quickly as she liked, she became cruel and dishonest. My big question is, why? Why was that enough to change her behavior? I refuse to believe that she did it because she's just mean and that's all there is to her character. And since I love to speculate about things in the show that are interesting and unexplained, I'm incredibly invested in Sunset Shimmer's character.
Sorry, Pass, but I gotta agree with Toon Critic on this one. I really can't take Sunset seriously as a villain. Let's ignore for the moment she was more underdeveloped than King Sombra.
Dude, a stick with a crown was more developed than King Sombra. It's a moot point.
But because of the high school setting, she has no real power, and at times is quite pathetic. For example, her first plan to get revenge on Twilight was to expose her for what she truly is. If she were to say that Twilight was a magical horse from another dimension where everyone is a pony, who has come to reclaim her crown which has magical powers, who's the one that's gonna get shunned for the rest of high school again?
Just for the record, I love the part where Twilight and Sunset Shimmer talk with each other as they actually are. It's so great because all the disguises are off and it shows us how different this movie is from the typical high school trope. Instead of it being a new girl who wants to become homecoming queen because of an inferiority complex, It's Twilight who needs the homecoming queen to save Equestria. By doing so, it gives us some perspective. This isn't another crappy high school trope movie. It's still My Little Pony Friendship is Magic.
Admittedly, that part is, well, pretty cool. And as for her demon form, really? Is that the best you have? You sure Spectra from Danny Phantom won't sue your ass? With everything that happened after she got defeated. It's not like the CSI, FBI, NSA, or Hogwarts is going to show up after what happened. Maybe to fix the lighting or something, but nobody's going to remember what happened that night. Right?
Speaking of things we're probably going to forget, our Linnets for the evening has arrived.
Our what?
Linnets, it's an acronym for Love Interest Not Essential to the Story. And Flash Sentry fits the bill. As A&Y pointed out in his top 5 yay and nay for Equestria Girls, Flash is a giant romantic stew. He's perfect with no flaws whatsoever outside of bumping into Twilight every now and then. I would add that Flash does absolutely nothing in the movie outside of being a forced romantic interest because the plot says so.
Well, Flash did prove Twilight's innocence, so you could say he served some importance, right?
Yeah, in a matter that was resolved so quickly, tension didn't even get to show up. I felt that Flash barely served anything to the overall plot. I mean, yeah, he showed up here and there, but what did he really do again? What was his purpose? Why did they even include a pony version of him? Was he just a tease? What is his story? Who is this cult of no personality?
Ah, fine. He served no purpose to the grand narrative, and his personality was just too freaking perfect for my liking. Unlike Sunset Shimmer, there's nothing interesting left unexplained about him. He has a crush on Twilight. And so what? That's not as interesting as betraying Equestria. It's just not. And since it's not, the very action of explaining it is boring. As a result, I'm not going to defend this pathetic excuse for a character. Granted, my opinion of him might change if the MLP staff tweak his character in the future. However, this is a moot point, because they're probably just going to leave this crappy character on the side of the road where he belongs.
Now, why couldn't they have done that with Cadence?
Well, at least if I may go off topic, Lois Lane's only purpose in Man of Steel was to push a button. Hell, Lois actually had more purpose to exist in Man of Steel than Flash did in Equestria Girls.
It is a sad, sad, sad day when Man of Steel is better than Equestria Girls.
While we're on the subject of Flash's importance, did anyone realize that the Photoshop scandal was too quickly resolved?
Yeah, I call bull on this. How are they able to make these photos? Did they just have the insane amount of luck to have good enough references to cut and literally paste photographic evidence? Yeah, that worked really well until Flash just debunked everything, making the scene entirely pointless.
This was quickly resolved and didn't contribute at all to the overall story. Though I will say the photoshopping was completely believable. Why, you might ask? Because the only photos that had holes in them were the soccer photos. So Human Sniffs and Snails could have easily cut out pictures of Twilight and put them over the gym pictures. They didn't have to fit Twilight into Sunset's frame or anything.
Actually, now that I think about it, did the soccer game serve any purpose as well? I mean, outside of the photoshopping that went nowhere? I mean, Rainbow Dash was willing to help out Twilight regardless of the game.
You're right.
Please, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Fuck me.
How is it that the main five didn't talk to one another and all of a sudden they're best friends, i.e. Rainbow Dash and Applejack? Oh, I can't stand you. Let's be friends. Why would Sunset Shimmer smash the portal with a sledgehammer while the portal was still active? All it would do is go right through to the other side. You know what? Commence rant. Okay, so I'm pretty sure Celestia didn't make any rules on who could go through the portal. So, how about you, Miss Fancy Pants Princess, go through yourself, go take the crown by force, leave Sun Shit simmer in a ditch, and come back all within maybe in an hour. Hell, Twilight could have done that. Rainbow Dash could have just gone and get the crown and be back in 10 seconds flat. Any pony could have walked through, taken it by force, and then locked the portal with Sun Shit on the other side. It isn't that hard. You don't have to go through some formal dance contest prom thing just to get it back. Oh, we're gonna play fair. We gotta teach the kids the right way to earn things back. No. If what somebody stole from you is rightfully yours, you steal it back and take it by force. We could have narrowed this down to a 45-minute two-parter episode. Hasbro, all I gotta say is, why you so stupid?
I'm just going to say no.
Well, I'll say that's a little extreme for the show, but you do have a point. When you have plot points like this that are either dropped or quickly resolved, it's not development, it's padding.
On to the better stuff. As an animation enthusiast, I believe humor in these types of movies is critical, mostly because your audience is looking for something to keep their attention. And with little kids, you have to be very careful with your humor. You can't just resort to fart jokes. Fortunately, there was none in this, and I'm glad to see MLP has some dignity.
Yeah, there are some really funny moments in this movie, and that's pretty much all I have to say here. I typically don't have much to say about humor other than it made me laugh or it didn't make me laugh.
Now, I will not deny that this movie is indeed funny. The movie does have its moments where even the most stubborn of donkeys will crack a smile. We of course have moments where Twilight is thinking about Rainbow Dash in a bikini before bed, or Spike being incredibly witty as a dog that end up being intentionally funny. At first. The movie unfortunately has a tendency to repeat jokes that were only funny once. Twilight, initially being unaccustomed to the world, is admiring. For the first 5 minutes. When she's greeting Fluttershy, it's a little bit awkward. When she's eating like a horse, it starts to get stupid. But when she hits the library, it gets irritating. Or how about when Human Pinkie Pie figures out the plot and everyone is shocked? That actually made me chuckle. But when the real Pinkie Pie figured out what happened, sorry Megan, you only really caught lightning in a bottle once with that. Some comedies can pull off repeating jokes, but this movie struggled with it.
I don't get why so many kid-friendly programs feel the need to nail in jokes like these. Are they afraid we are going to forget them? And I've noticed that there's a lot of 3 strikes jokes in certain programming, but thankfully, EQG has managed to avoid that. They skidded with a lot of jokes, but I noticed, at least for me, a lot of fan pandering.
Oh, sweet Celestia, the fan pandering. There is a line you draw between fan service and fan pandering, and Equestria Girls cross that line. Fan service has small shoutouts or references to the older audience. A good example would be Hurricane Fluttershy, where Fluttershy was in a tree costume and the more subtle nod to Twilight not being able to talk squirrel, even though her voice actor can. Fan pandering is when the writers are desperate to get a positive audience response, so they resort to pleasing the fans with too many shoutouts to the point where they're screaming through a giant megaphone. I lost track of how many times they did this, so I invented the fan pandering counter on my second watch through. Count with me!
Oh, come on, it can't be that bad.
Awful for anyone who stands. The great and powerful Trixie! Need some peanut butter crackers. And then the words in moving pictures. When you're oat. Scratch the Twilight sparkle, help to see it. If I only had some kind of party cannon that could decorate everything super fast. Yay! Never be mad, did it right. Now the sake come around to tonight. So let's try to make it last forever. 6 friends here to shoot. Have friends for life.
There's probably a lot more we don't even know about.
I'm just going to be an ass here and say, so what? None of these fan pandering parts actually affected the narrative in any way. So what difference do any of these panderings actually make?
But 14 times? Are you serious? I know this doesn't bother a lot of people, but when the writers resort to cheap laughs to get a positive response like it has, it's irritating to me.
Alright, I'll give you that one.
Okay, I think we let Toon Critics rage for Snips and Snails simmer too long, so let's jump right into the characters. Yeah, you saw this coming. So let's start with the more obscure ones. First off, Shirley in this world apparently hates her job as a high school teacher / librarian and doesn't want to see her pupils grow. All she's waiting for is next week's paycheck, which is probably going to wait since the school has serious lighting issues.
I can see how one could insert that from the movie, but her annoyance with Twilight in the library could have also been the result of something very simple. I'm not so sure I would go that far and say she doesn't care about her job or anything.
Then there's Principal Celestia and Vice Principal Luna. Just saying those names out loud is making cult leader Fluttershy seem sane by comparison.
Agreed. That is all.
I heard that.
But I will let that all slide for the biggest out-of-character moments, Snips and Snails. What the hell happened to them? How do you go from Bulk and Skull to Goldar and Rito? Granted, I never liked them from the beginning, but they were never villainous at any point in the show. And yet, I'm totally okay with this.
Wait. Put the brakes on this train wreck for a second. You're telling me, you, the guy who constantly bashes Meriwether Williams' work for out-of-character concepts, is defending this? Why?
2 words. Alternate universe.
That's not an excuse.
Let me explain. Never did they say in the movie the human world was a parallel universe. As it goes with comics that travel to alternate dimensions, there will sometimes be slight or even drastic altercations to the prime universe. For all we know, Twilight would have ended up in a universe entirely composed of shrimp. Major difference in the EQG universe is everyone is humanized. A slight altercation is the setting will make some personalities askew, like with Shirley or Snips and Snails.
I will actually give points for the writers still keeping the main six's personality intact. Even though they are different looking in our alternate versions, we still have the cocky Rainbow Dash, the hardworking Applejack, the shy and timid Fluttershy, the quirky Pinkie Pie, the fashionista Rarity, and the loyal sidekick Spike, who seriously should have been a dog this whole time. He looks much more marketable that way. I mean, who wants a baby dragon? This isn't Dragon Tales, come on.
Quiet, Andrea Libben might be listening.
Lastly, I will minus points for not doing anything new with the main six. It's hard to balance that. You'd think since this is their first big movie, they'd tried something new. But I guess you can't really expect that much from Hasbro. All they care about is money, money, sell toys, sell toys.
Ditto to both of you.
What can you say about the art style that hasn't been said before? It's fluent, crisp, and appealing to look at. It's the same style we're familiar with, but this time they're experimenting with a different style. Humans. And at first I thought this wouldn't work out, but to my surprise, the designs look pretty cool. There is detail in the clothing. The colors match the main six's personality and their pony Sona's, and you can tell at some points where they reuse certain facial expressions and movements.
Agreed. The animation in this movie was so fluent, in particular the dancing during the Help Twilight Win the Crown song. As for the art style, they had great use of shadow, which I love, and the designs of the humanized characters are actually not that bad. That is until they go all magical girl on us at the very end, but we'll talk about that later.
As for me, I have no complaints with the animation and art style. It was aesthetically pleasing with only one part that seemed off to me. The part where they show the students dancing in the cafeteria. The animation here just seems so weird. But I can excuse this because DHX isn't used to animating humans, and they were animating multiple humans all at once here. Again, for entering a new species, I think DHX did a great job.
If I may go on a little satirical note here, to all the people that are getting their chastity belts in a bunch over how bad sexualizing Twilight and her friends are, I don't see anyone complaining about Ariel and how little she wore her clothes in Little Mermaid. Be thankful they don't show cleavage. I mean, think of it like this. This movie did make things easier for cosplayers. Now they can make somewhat proper humanized versions of their favorites, just minus the Bratsby attire. Those things just bother me.
You haven't seen what they did recently, have you?
I'm afraid to ask. Well, nope. You guys can finish this on your own. Peace, goodbye, adios, arrivederci, good night. Wait, how do I unlock the door again?
While Toon Critic is struggling to exit the channel, let's move on to the next bit of technicals, the music. Now, I will usually be the first to defend the show for its songs, but the songs in Equestria Girls... I'm sorry, but Daniel Ingram was not on his A game with the songs. I'd say it would be more like his C game. The songs in Equestria Girls are completely forgettable because of how same-sounding they are. Strange New World, while okay, isn't anything new. It feels like a mix of BBBFF and What My Cutie Mark is telling me in terms of awkwardness and pleasantness. Then we have Help Twilight Win the Crown, which is the most memorable song of the entire movie, much how like We're All in This Together was the most memorable song of High School Musical. In fact, the song was so bad it cut away early. Last time I saw that happen wasn't Rockadoodle.
Sorry, voice, I'm going to have to disagree with you here. To me, the songs were just enjoyable, and that's about it. I will say, though, that the Help Twilight Win the Crown song partly degrades the moral. The moral of the movie was that a true leader doesn't force others to stand for her. She instead inspires others to stand with her. I love this moral, but the Help Twilight Win the Crown song sort of diminishes the accomplishment of inspiring the students, since Twilight uses it to inspire her classmates. Not to mention that the student body in the school is that easy to influence.
But after that, we have Time to Come Together, which is a montage song that feels like the previous song, but at a faster tempo. But I think this is where the moral shines through. Because she was willing to clean up the mess she didn't make, and other students saw her cleaning, they were motivated to help and come together, which started a chain reaction with all the students in the school.
Yeah, that's why the Help Twilight Win the Crown song doesn't completely ruin the moral. It's not the only place where Twilight increases her support.
But then came This Is Our Big Night, which is a montage song that feels like the previous song but at a faster tempo. You see what I'm getting at here? Regardless of how the songs affect the story, even with the awesome show Don't Tell tactic, 3 of the songs in the movie are the same song just played faster. How am I the only one that's noticing this?
They like the style of music?
At least they didn't resort to what the Land Before Time TV series did and just take the original beats and write new lyrics for them. Originality? That sounds like a French appetizer. Seriously though, I agree with Voice in that the songs sound fairly similar, generic almost, but at least Help Twilight Win the Crown stands out. You definitely have the Ingram charm in this, the same songs we've heard that help motivate us and get us into a good mood. They actually move the plot along and don't just serve as filler.
Unfortunately, I couldn't tell you about the last song because I was so frustrated with the other musical numbers that the credits song seemed like an afterthought. And yet, they're still less vomit-inducing than Behold Princess Twilight. Okay, guys. Can we at least agree that the last 15 minutes of this movie was heavily flawed?
More like thrown in to get up to normal movie length.
Well, yes. I mean, no. What do you mean? Expand on that.
Well, let's start off with... Is it too late to start drinking? Screw it, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Can I say, commence rant?
What the fuck is this? You cannot be serious! We had no build-up, no foreshadowing that this is going to happen. Say what you will about the holes in a Camelot wedding, and I know Anthony C has, but at least you could say that Queen Chrysalis was well foreshadowed. The green magic, the green eyes, the ring of fire, this day, Arya, all foreshadowed that the Cadence we were seeing was not the real Cadence, and there was something more to her under the false persona. Here we're given 2 throwaway lines about how it's dangerous to bring an element of harmony into the dimension, and Sunset Shimmer isn't a monster 2 minutes before she transforms into a monster! Bad writer! Bad writer! You go in the corner and think about what you just did! I mean, was the script even edited before it went to the voice actors? Well, looking through the credits, there appears to be no story editor. I'm thinking DHX should focus less on animation timing and more on proofreading.
Well, I will say from a narrative perspective, this is bad. Very bad. Although, I find the end to be pretty awesome because of the concepts they introduce. There are 3 concepts here. 1. In the human universe, the element of magic can be used as a tool by someone like Sunset Shimmer. 2. In the human universe, the elements can be used by people who just possess the spirits of the elements of harmony. And 3. In the human universe, those who just possess the spirits of the elements of harmony can defeat a person who is using the element of magic. On the surface, it might seem like all of these are not at all possible, and one could easily make the argument that they aren't. However, I disagree. There is a way in which this all works. 2 words. Alternate universe. The elements of harmony just might work differently in the human world, enabling all of these things to happen. I mean, Sunset Shimmer did say, do you even know what happens when an element of harmony enters an alternate world? Potentially implying that the elements do work differently in the human world. Now, I wouldn't say that this makes the human world evil or anything, or that it breaks the meaning behind the elements of harmony. To the contrary, I would say that it makes the human world great and strengthens the message behind the elements of harmony. Because, in this scenario, the spirits win over the physical artifact. If the message behind the elements of harmony is one of symbolism, that friendship can overpower the mightiest of foes, then how are the concepts revealed here hurting that meaning? The very aspect the elements of harmony represent is literally blowing the fuck out of the physical artifact of one of the elements, the element of magic. Is that not a good thing? To me, this is symbolism gone Super Saiyan, and it's fucking awesome.
Since this is a movie, you'd think they go all out with the ending, something big, something epic. But what we're left with is a reused technique, albeit a little different, to defeat the villain. It would have been fine had they only done this twice, but this is the 3rd time they've used the taste the rainbow motherfucker technique. And then immediately after, Sunset's all, "Oh, I'm sorry, please forgive me." Trixie did it better, just saying. And then dance, waste time, happy ending, what are hands, you fucking idiots, contrived romantic subplot, visited briefly, derpy in the credits, hooray, it's done. All tension, what little of it went down the drain with the Sailor Moon transformations, the reused finisher, and a rushed ending. And I agree with both Past and Voice's standpoints. I just think, personally, they shouldn't have crammed it all together.
Overall, I enjoyed this movie, and I definitely want to see it again. However, that's not because this movie is freaking fantastic. No, that's not it at all. The reason I say this is because I look at the movie a lot differently than other movies. You see, I have this fascination with making everything from the MLP staff connect, and due to this fact, I'm a lot more open to the concepts revealed in this movie, and I'm able to find said concepts fun and interesting. That said, I primarily enjoyed this film on a conceptual basis. Besides the concepts revealed, I thoroughly enjoyed the music, animation, and moral. However, I am able to see flaws with this movie, as it was far from perfect. The main flaw being that the story, narratively, sucked, which I suspect was due to a lot of sloppy writing on the show staff's part. The thing is though, if you remember from an earlier video of mine, I don't care about any of this. To me, loving Friendship is Magic is about loving the concepts. While I believe there's a trend between sloppy writing and bad concepts, I in no way believe that's definite. Sometimes great concepts can emerge from sloppy writing, and terrible concepts emerge from good writing. There's no guarantee. So what do I have to say about this movie? Love it if you love it, hate it if you hate it. I choose to love it for the reasons I just mentioned. If you want to convince someone of your way of thinking, then go for it, but don't expect them to turn around. After all, everyone's entitled to their opinion.
As a neutral party in this, all snark and riffing aside, Equestria Girls is MLPFIM's first big movie, gets a solid C, 7 out of 10 from me. It's not Academy Award winning material, but it's not god-awful, I want to rip my hair out bad. Like a lot of movies I watch these days, I found this to be in the middle. You can riff and trash Equestria Girls till the next big movie, but I look at it like this. It's still the same characters we've grown to love and care about, just in a different setting. The writing is decent with a fairly simple formula to follow, the visuals in the human world aren't too big of a change, that way it allows you to get comfy, and the music and songs are what you can expect from Daniel Ingram, although they are a little generic. And I still think the fandom overreacted over this, like a kid on his first roller coaster. Because at the end of the day, Equestria Girls delivers something entertaining and amusing, no matter how bad people make it out to be with its flaws.
This movie is a gigantic train wreck. Every time I watched this movie, I had to pause it because of how stupid it was turning out. The story has more holes in it than Swiss cheese. The premise feels like it was someone's alternate universe fanfic rather than a plotline for Friendship is Magic. If you tried to apply an ounce of logic to this flawed story, your brain would explode. The characters are either default or stupid. Sunset Shimmer is a more disappointing and unexplained villain than Sombra. Flash Sentry did not need to exist. The musical numbers were lackluster and same sounding, if not the same song at a different tempo. The jokes had a tendency to repeat themselves, making them less funny on the second go round. The fan pandering was through the roof just to get a positive response from the older fans, and I don't even need to mention that the ending was a bigger cop-out and anti-climax than Spike at Your Service. The only thing good I could say about this movie is it's well animated and the moral actually connects with the story it's trying to convey. So yeah, this movie was terrible. And it is glorious. The way the story tries to take itself so seriously with all the leaps in logic actually makes it very entertaining to riff on Mystery Science Theater 3000 style. So if you want to do something with your friends for a film night, pop in this movie, grab a couple of beers, assuming you are of age in your country, and poke fun at its stupidity. So which argument do you take? Let us know in the comments below. So Paz, Toon Critic, thanks for coming over to give your perspectives on Equestria Girls.
Pleasure to be here. You can check out my reviews as well. They aren't pony related like these guys, but I'll let you be the judge of them.
Same here, thanks for having me, Voice of Reason. As for me, I only do pony-related videos, and I'm a lesser-known pony analyst. Feel free to check out my stuff if you like, it's in the description.
And I'm a nobody. We all can be obscure buddies.
Yay, obscure buddies! Anyways, before you leave, don't forget to take some cookies and punch with you. It's right by the rift.
Hooray to mooching! See ya!
Now, where's my paycheck at?